Thank you very much for giving me a floor, distinguished chair. Dear friends, on behalf of the Japan Peace Committee, I would like to express our gratitude to the Belgrade Forum for World Equals for the invitation to this historical event. On this occasion, I extend my heartfelt condolence to the victims of the brutal aggression and express renewed my determination not to repeat such criminal action under any pretext, including the humanitarian intervention. We should draw lessons from this incident. I believe this international conference would give us a unique opportunity to do so. Japan Peace Committee was forefront in our country to organize a campaign against NATO aggression in 1999. We accused the NATO bombing as an awful, unlawful action against an independent sovereign state. That was a violation of international laws and cannot be justified by any reason. At that time, Japanese mass media was propagating, disseminating the argument so-called ethnic cleansings. And this affects the public to some extent. Of course, we cannot close our eyes to many killings of civilians and unhuman treatment around this problem. But we do believe the priority for peace movement was to stop NATO aggression immediately without any preconditions, and for all parties concerned, make every effort for the diplomatic solution on the basis of the peaceful principles of the UN Charter. We made an urgent call to create a unity of action in our country for stopping NATO's aggression by putting aside the difference of opinion or analysis on these problems. NATO's aggression was the test case of its new strategic concept adopted in 1999 that expanded the scope of the military action into its surrounding area and further moved more into other regions of the globe. It was an open declaration that the NATO was transformed into a military tool that mobilized its member states into a war of intervention worldwide. Japanese mass media argued at the time that the military attack was unavoidable due to the Yugoslavia's refusal to a final proposal in Rambouillet negotiation. But we were publicly disclosing a conspiracy of the United States and the UK that intended to prevent a diplomatic solution and to pave the way to a war by putting an acceptable proposal to Yugoslavia. One of the lessons from our campaign in Japan was to unite actions on the burning issues of peace, even with those who have different political and ideological stance. Through our united actions, many people had reached to a new level of the understanding of the problems. NATO's strategy and its implementation in Serbia had close relation to Japan-US military alliance. This bilateral military pact has been substantially expanded and reinforced since the late 1990s. In 1996, the military alliance was so-called redefined, and the scope of the Japan-US joint military action was enlarged from Japanese territory into so-called surrounding area of Japan. Namely, it includes the Korean Peninsula. It has been upgraded, keeping step with NATO expansion and reinforcement. In 2015, new guidelines for Japan-US defense cooperation was concluded that enabled Japan's self-defense forces to go abroad on a global scale with the US forces. However, it has not yet possible for the Japan self-defense force to fully operate with the US forces worldwide.
Примаков па ви.
Because of the restriction of the Japanese constitution,
Да, примаков па ви.
Article 9 of the Constitution prohibits the use of force and the possession of the military forces. Therefore, the present regime of a cabinet, following the U.S. strategy, is eager to revise these peaceful provisions. To defend this constitution is now the most pressing task for all democratic forces in our country. Under this Japan-U.S. military alliance, there are more than 130 U.S. military bases, even in the metropolitan Tokyo. Their removal is also one of our main demands, particularly in Okinawa, southern islands of Japan. They concentrate over 70% of the U.S. bases in Japan. And this has caused a number of serious crimes, including rapes and robbery by the U.S. soldiers, and damages on the new natural environment, including the noises and air pollution and so on. There is the biggest U.S. air base in Asia called Futenma Base. It has been said that Futenma is the most dangerous base in the world as it is situated in the midst of the big city. Both government of Japan and the United States agreed its closure in 1995 following the huge protest against the rape of an elementary school girl by U.S. Marines. On the other hand, these two governments decided to build a new base in the northern part of the Okinawa called Henoko. Since then, the struggle in Henoko against the new U.S. base construction has been a focal point of anti-base movement in our country. We are now promoting a nationwide campaign supporting the Okinawan struggle. So on this occasion, I'd like to call upon you to express support and solidarity also to this Okinawan people. NATO's aggression showed us that it is an important task for peace movement to establish and to defend the world order of peace envisaged in the Charter of the United Nations. It has become more and more important in today's world, where superpowers, including the US imperialism, tend to take unilateral actions, ignoring multilateral agreements and frameworks. That endangers the world peace and security today. It is imperative for the world peace movement to promote international cooperation and joint action on this basic common cause for a world order of peace, irrespective of the ideological or political differences. Such a broad front would halt the hands of the superpowers and the hegemony. NATO aggression shows that the military alliance in general are not in line with the principle of the UN Charter. Therefore, we are demanding the dissolution of all military blocs, including NATO and the Japan-US military alliance. Belgrade was the venue of the first meeting of non-aligned movement in 1961. Former Yugoslavia was one of the leading members of the non-aligned movement. Non-aligned movement has taken a lead in the nuclear disarmament. Recently, they took an active role in the adoption of the historical treaty on prohibition of nuclear weapons in July 2017. As a peace movement of a solo atomic bombed country by the United States, we have devoted ourselves to achieve a world without nuclear weapons, working together with the Hibakushas, survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In the aggression to Yugoslavia, NATO used depleted uranium ammunition. There are serious concerns on radiological hazard caused by this depleted uranium, namely the internal exposure of radioactivity. Since the eradication of the radiological hazard is also common to our anti-nuclear movement in Japan, we have been in solidarity with people against the DU, depleted uranium, and on this occasion, I'd like to express our readiness and determination to strengthen the solidarity with the movement against this DU. How to achieve the peace and security in the Korean Peninsula?
The time, only, please.
I will finalize it. So the U.S. DPRK summit meeting in February shows that the negotiation would take time with ups and downs. I think the most important thing is to raise the public opinion for the Korean Peninsula of peace and nuclear weapon free. So before my conclusion, I'd like to reiterate our determination on this occasion to carry out the struggle hand in hand with the people of Yugoslavia for the Serbia, for the dissolution of the all military blocs and a world without nuclear weapons. Thank you very much.